So worst in terms of the money you pay for it and the treatment you get, McLaren. Okay, number
Makes
one,
sense.
and I'm openly talking about it all the time because it's like I've had a client whose car caught on fire, burned down, and they said it took them 4 or 5 months to fix it, and they said there's been nothing wrong with this car. Like there's no violation of this. Well,
So if someone walks into a dealer, hey, the price is $50,000 online. I go in and they're going, well, there's also this $2,500 equipment package. It's already installed, so there's nothing we can do about it. What's the best thing that like the consumer can do in that situation?
yeah.
Are the dealers just that negligent, or do they do it on purpose?
So occasionally they're just negligent, but I feel like most of the time they do it recklessly. So the legal standard for fraud, it says
Into your little spiel.
Yes. We're back, Supercar Connection. We are at the Margarian Law Firm right now, sitting in front of a yellow GT3 RS, an Ultimae, and an SF90, specifically in the Margarian garage with my man.
HOVANES.
Yes. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm HOVANES Margarian. I'm the founder and lead counsel of the Margarian Law Firm, where we handle exclusively automotive litigation, lemon law, and dealer fraud cases. And I'm a car enthusiast, and I watch your guys' channel, and welcome. Love having you guys here, and looking forward to the conversation.
It's a pleasure.
So dealer fraud,
Yes.
that's quite something.
It's a statement.
What's
Yes.
the biggest what's the biggest dealer fraud that you see?
So dealer fraud refers to anything where there's a misrepresentation of the vehicle's condition to the consumer. That includes when a car's mileage is rolled back, or if a car has been in a prior accident and it wasn't disclosed to the consumer, or let's say you buy a car with certain warranties, but then later on you find out those warranties do not exist, or there's a violation of the fair advertising regulations where they advertise the car for one price, but then they charge you a higher price, and a number of other things that they do. So those all fall under the category of dealer fraud, which is protected under the consumer laws in the state of California and other states as well. And they're very specific and detailed, and there's only a handful of attorneys that specialize in these type of litigation, these type of cases, and the main goal, I mean, the whole thing is about making the consumer whole after they've been defrauded by the dealership.
Yeah. So if I go online and I see a Range Rover listed for $120,000,
Yes.
and then I call in and they go, oh, it's actually $20K over, it's $140,000. Is that a problem?
That's a problem. So that's a violation of the Fair Advertising Regulations and the Consumer Legal Remedies Act in the state of California, and it's pretty much a misrepresentation overall. But there's a distinction that people need to be aware of. So the MSRP is the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Okay, that's a suggestion. So if it says MSRP $120,000, and then you call them and they say it's 150 or 100. It's not a misrepresentation. It's not a violation. But if it says today's special, $120,000, and you call in and they say, no, it's not 120, it's 150, that's a misrepresentation. So there's a clear distinction between those two.
Yeah.
And most people confuse that and they think, oh, I saw the MSRP and then they want more money. That's okay. That's a suggested price.
What if it says internet price?
The same as today's price, internet
Okay.
price, today's special, your price, our price,
Everyone's price,
the sale
whatever.
price.
Anything but MSRP.
Yes, anything but MSRP. It has to be a distinction that this is different from the MSRP. If it says cash price or acquisition price, or you can have it for this much. Anything that makes you believe. So, because a lot of times you have to kind of step back and think of what is the law trying to accomplish. It wants to make sure that consumers are not deceived, right? So if it says MSRP, that's not a deception. That's the true statement that the manufacturer set the price, the MSRP price, at that amount. Anything else that says this is your price, you're able to buy this car today at this price, and they refuse to honor that price, then that's a misrepresentation. That's a deception of the consumer. Therefore, you have rights. And what's tricky about it is if you go in and they refuse to sell you, you really don't have a case. Although theoretically you could still sue them and force the sale, but it's just too messy. But if you actually buy the car and pay that 20 grand extra, then you will have a case.
So let's just say Century West has a 7 Series listed up at 120, and I call you and I call them and they say, no, it's 150. And then I call you. What are the next steps? Where do we go from there?
If you've bought the car and you paid the $30,000, then we would make sure we have a copy of the website listing that shows that the car was listed at that price, not just the MSRP, but the available price. And then we would formulate the demand letter. You would retain us, which is free. It's all purely on contingency terms. It's depending on us winning the case. And we'll talk about the terms later. But pretty much you would retain me. I'd send a demand letter explaining the situation, explaining the violation, and demanding that they pay the difference back to you because you've been essentially defrauded out of those funds. That used to happen, honestly, a lot during COVID. So 2021, 22, it was just madness what was going on, as you guys know. And we did a lot of cases in that during those years. I've done those cases during the last 19 years on and off here and there, but the last 3 years were packed, like hundreds of those cases. Some of my videos on this topic were hit like 2-3 million views on Instagram. But there's another angle to this which is more unique and it's still ongoing, which is the extra optional items on cars. So legally, an advertisement of a car refers to the car as a whole, okay? The dealer cannot say, this is the car at $50,000, and then you call in and they say, yes, that's the car, but this car has gold rims, which are another $5,000. This car has, this other package, which is another $5,000.
PPF.
And you have to buy these 2 service packages, which are another $10,000. So you got to add $20,000, okay? That's not allowed either. The statutes are clear. They say if you're advertising a car at a set price, again, not an MSRP, but an actual ad, if the dealer later on insists that you pay for accessory items that are on the car, if those items were on the car, right? So the day they were advertising it, if it already had those gold rims, then the ad by default implies that you can buy this car with the gold rims.
Right.
So you don't get to charge me another $5,000, okay? And then as far as the service contracts, if the car did not come with those service contracts, right? It's listed at $50,000. It has its warranty, but does not have that extra service contract. Then you don't get to force me to buy that service contract. These are 2 different items, but always been legit in terms of being claims. Always we've had cases with these type of issues, and it's still ongoing.
That's actually brought up a good point. So I've actually seen it. Now, this might be a little different. You tell me the legality of this. I've seen it where they've, like Ferrari, a franchise Ferrari dealer will list a car at $250. And you call in and they break down the deal and they say, well, no, the car is actually $230, but our CPO, everything to get the car CPO'd is $20. So we're listing the car at $250 and there's not an option to buy the car without the CPO.
Yes.
Is that fair?
That's fair. That's perfect. They did it correctly because they were honest about the fact that they want $250,000 for the car with the CPO, and they ran the ad at $250. Fair, honest, open all day long. You don't have any issues. I don't have any issues with those dealers. I love dealers that do it correctly. Oftentimes people get into arguments with me online on my Instagram posts saying, oh, you sue us and this and that. I'm like, well, I only sue when there's fraud.
Right.
Okay. The ones that are honest about it, I welcome the honesty and the openness. I
do fair business.
Yeah, it's fair business. That's perfectly fine. And I do more lemon law cases. So I actually do not want to be in bad relationships with dealers unless I have to be, because I get the lemon cases and I get all the referrals and the word of mouth and this and that. So I don't have a specific beef with the dealers unless they commit the violations.
Right.
Yeah.
They're forcing your hand at the end of the day.
Well,
they do it to themselves.
Yes, and then, on that note, interestingly enough, a few years ago, I had a case against, I think it was a Ford dealer. It was a fraud case. The general manager decided to call me himself to try to negotiate a resolution. We argued. Then he turns to me and he says, you know what? You're worse than us. Just because we did XYZ, now you want this much money from us. I started laughing. I go, you just gave the answer.
He admitted it.
Yeah, you're like, just because. Yeah, if I shoot you just because I shot you, I go to jail. It's a consequence of what I did. If I crash this car and sell it to you without telling you, you get to sue me and get the money back because of what I did. It's not just because, okay?
Right.
It's a consequence of your own conduct. So it's just funny. I always say people get used to what they get away with. So it becomes second nature to them. So that's why they feel like, well, it's okay because we do it all day long. It's okay. It's okay. But it's not.
No.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
They don't expect people to push back.
Right.
Majority of people get screwed over and they go, oh, that's just how it is. And they don't expect people to fight back. But then you get the couple people that fight back and they hire you. And next thing you know, they're like, all right, maybe we got to change our policies here.
Because what like at least 90% of dealers do that I've seen, and I tell everyone because people come to us, hey, I'm looking for a new car. A lot of times it's just family and friends. It's not always someone looking for a Lamborghini, but I always tell them, here's the deal. You've got to just figure out what the final price is because they're going to tell you it's this much, and then you're going to get in there, and then there's always some package that's already installed on the car that they can't take off anymore, and that's an extra $3,000, and it's PPF and nitrogen in the tires and all this stuff that doesn't matter. And by the way, nitrogen in your tires is a scam. It's not doing anything for you. They're charging you $500 for literally nothing. So good luck with that. But like that's what the thing I see like probably 90% of dealers, like Lexus, Mercedes, like that sort of level of dealers, it's always that little package that they throw on. So if someone walks into a dealer, hey, the price is $50,000 online, I go in and they're going, well, there's also this $2,500 equipment package. It's already installed, so there's nothing we can do about it. What's the best thing that like the consumer can do in that situation?
So you can try to convince them to waive that charge, but if they refuse, then you kind of have to choose between walking away to find another dealer, or you have to go through the process, get the car, and then you will have a case.
And call
Call us, yeah. But I always tell people don't do it unless
well.
you can afford the car, as
For
is
sure.
with the charge and so forth. Yes, it sounds like you have a claim, if the circumstances are accurate. But I don't encourage people to do it for the purpose of having a case because it's not fun to have a case for over $3,000 just if you could avoid it. But
Right.
if you're stuck with it, then okay. Or if you got tricked into it and you ended up getting the car, then yes, call us and we can work on that and get the money back.
What does it have? You just getting the money back or you getting the money back plus some?
So the rules are the following. You get damages back, which is what you paid. So if it's $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is, we have an easy shot to add taxes because you're adding taxes when on the contract. So taxes should also be refunded. And then because it's fraud, legally you could claim 9 times the amount of damages. Saying 9 times, because 9 is kind of the threshold set by court rulings, where the rulings were, so if a jury says 100 times, the judge will reduce it down to 9 at most because that's reasonable. It's more than that is unreasonable. But it could range, okay? But typically we do not get punitive damages because punitive damages requires something with extreme malice and harm to the person, where you can make the jury cry. Okay? You can include it in your demand, you can include it in your lawsuit, you can include it when you go to trial, but is the jury going to really cry about the fact that you paid $3,000 extra on some package on a car?
Depends how you paint the picture, but I
Well,
get what you're
still,
saying.
But then take a case where someone bought a car and then later on they had a crash, and then the insurance investigators found out that there was a previously damaged component that came loose, and then you smashed the car and you broke your leg. Okay, the jury will cry over that. So that's a scenario where I can make the jury cry, be sympathetic, and we can get 5 to 9 times the damages. But in a typical situation, the odds are slim. It's possible, but they're slim. Then you also have civil penalties, which are a separate category from punitive damages. You get punitive damages under fraud, civil penalties under the consumer legal, the Business and Professions Code violations, which say you could get twice the amount. You also have civil penalties under the Lamborghinig Law. We can talk about that later. So civil penalties typically 2 times the amount of damages. Sometimes it's like a set penalty, $1,000, $2,000, and then you have attorney's fees. So what's great about the consumer protection in California is that it's very pro-consumer and it gives you attorney's fees for the plaintiff, because standard regular law, U.S. law, does not give you the right to recover attorney's fees. If you give me $100 today and I sign off saying I owe you $100, you can sue me all day long. You could go to trial. You will not win your attorney's fees. So it becomes impossible, impractical for you to sue me over that $100, okay? The Lemon Law says because the consumers are regular people, and then you have these giant corporations, the manufacturers or the dealers that have a lot of money, it's unfair. To balance that unfairness, the laws, the Lemon Law and then the Consumer Fraud Acts and the Consumer Legal Remedies Act says you get damages and your attorney's fees shift onto the defendant if you win. So that puts pressure on them to act properly and to settle. And if they refuse, if we go to trial, then they have to pay our fees. So along the way, whatever fees are accrued, they will pay, which means the consumer can hire me and I'll work on the case for free, essentially, for all purposes for the consumer. And if it takes me a month or 6 months or 10 months, I'll get the $5,000, $10,000 settlement plus fees. And so I don't have to charge the consumer. So it's purely contingent and it ends up being free when we prevail on the case.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a better system than I feel like I've seen a lot of attorneys that charge for what they do. Then the other counsel knows, okay, let's just drag this out as long as possible because our client, our opposing party will starve eventually because we have all these funds. The other person might not.
Yes, yeah.
At what point have you always done that from the start of your career? Or
Yeah,
did you switch
always
into
done that because, when I started, I was looking at this, so I fell into this because of what I did during law school. And when I...
Which was what?
Okay, so during law school...
Tell the people, baby, come on, I want to hear all about everything.
So if we go way back, undergrad, I did at USC, pre-med, biology,
Fight on.
Research, fight on, all that, all the good stuff. I was a total nerd. And then I took the LSAT on a dare. I didn't study. I went and took the test. I got a good score. Applied to...
No studying?
Yeah, I didn't study.
On a dare?
Yeah, my friend, it was kind of a bet because we were pre-med.
And then you guys were like, all right, let's
No,
just go
we were
take
pre-med.
that.
We were both pre-med. We were talking how the MCAT is hard, and then we're talking how the LSAT is easy for law school. So for med school, it's hard. For law school, it's easy. And then my best friend goes, well, if you think so, why don't you take it? I go, I'll take it. Okay, so I signed up. Like 3 weeks later, I show up to take the LSAT. And I don't care. Like whatever happens, I lose a bet. Who cares? I'm going to med school. I don't care about this.
Right.
Like the most stress-free exam I've ever taken in my life because it's not about any score or anything. It's just for fun. I get like 164 out of 180, which is a really good score.
A really good score.
Yeah.
That's a really good score.
Yeah. And then like I had friends who had studied.
It's a good, for him not doing a thing, that's a great score.
There's people that
He's
study
downplaying it when he said that.
months.
That's a great score.
I mean, a few months later, I took the GMAT as well. I scored 94 percentile. That's for business school.
I know people that scored like 161 and studied their whole life for this.
Yeah,
You got 164, you didn't study a
The
thing.
GMAT is a joke.
The GMAT was all like math and logic. I mean, but it was cool. Anyway, so I did that and then I switched. So I was like, I'm going to law school, forget med school. I'll be done in 3 years. I'll get a firm job. It'll be great. It'll be fancy. I'll make money and I'll be doing stuff, rather than med school and all this torture. Because med school is like they torture you. The whole approach to the medical field, unfortunately, is to drain you, break you, make you, your skin thicker for you to become a doctor, which is great in terms of they build you up, but they make you suffer so much.
Like the military.
Yeah, it's pretty much that same approach. Even admissions, you can't call, you can't talk to them. Law school is the opposite. They welcome you. They're logical. They're reasonable. Like, oh, you want to go to law school? Yeah, we'll tell you all about it. How about this? How about that? So I applied to law school. I talked to the admissions department. They're like, well, that's great. You changed your mind. You're now all of a sudden like the most well-rounded candidate that we have because of your biology research, your chemistry research, all the pre-med stuff. And now you want to go to law school. Wonderful. You're in. That's it. It's like great.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's how I switched to law. I did undergrad. During undergrad, I ran a car brokerage because I figured I was shopping for a car. I learned how brokers work, so I figured, okay, I'll sell cars and I'll go to law school. It was a disaster. For the first 6 months, couldn't sell a single car. Okay, so I was quoting below cost, and I was still losing deals. And then slowly I found out how the competition is cheating the consumers on prices, on options, on this, on that, on that. So it took me a few years, but I learned the entire ins and outs of the industry. And when I finished law school, people started coming to me with questions about their situation with the dealer, on a deal, on a lease or a purchase, and I knew everything from the business perspective, from inside. And now I just learned all the legal side of things, all the consumer protection laws and everything that tied in, which was of interest to me during law school. So overnight I became the expert in automotive litigation, and it was legitimate because I had been in the industry for 3 years fighting the industry from within. So I started suing the dealers, and then my own clients that I'd sold cars to came to me saying, well, the car you sold me has issues. So I started suing the manufacturers, and it just snowballed into something that's lasted now 19 years. Yeah.
What manufacturer do you see has the most lemon buybacks? Probably per capita, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you look at McLaren, it might not be super high number, but per capita
Yeah.
it's
Can I make a
probably up
guess?
there.
Yes, sure.
A random shot in the dark here.
Yes.
Like Dodge.
Some, not the worst.
Not
but
the worst?
We got some, yeah.
Fair.
Worst offender, let's hear it.
So worst in terms of the money you pay for it and the treatment you get, McLaren. Okay, number
Makes
one,
sense.
and I'm openly talking about it all the time because it's like I've had a client whose car caught on fire, burned down, halfway pretty much, and they said it took them 4 or 5 months to fix it, and they said there's been nothing wrong with this car. Like there's no violation of this. Well, what do you mean? Like the lemon law says multiple issues or 30 days or this or that. This thing burned down, and you're saying it's not a big deal. Okay, how do you insult someone who paid you $350,000 and you say it's not a big deal?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like I have a special place for them in my
They're
heart.
bleeding money.
Yeah, but fix your cars or do something right. And you could fix it. Be nice to the client. You don't have to buy it back.
Yeah.
Right? You could have like a company policy where work with the clients and tell them we've got issues, but we're a brand. We're building our brand. You're part of our brand. Well,
Right.
how about we come up with a positive way to solve this? We don't have to sue each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll get you an allocation on something nice, something new. You could afford this one. You're going to afford the next one. How about we make a deal, some kind of a deal? But telling that client to go to hell, that's not nice.
No.
Yeah.
Okay?
More collaborative effort between
Yeah,
the
that's
client and
kind
the
of
brand itself.
yeah. So on the high-end cars, I believe like that's the appropriate approach. Mainstream cars, I mean, GM, Land Rover, Ford, plenty of issues. Yeah, Land Rover.
Yeah, that's a layup.
Yeah.
That's a layup
That's a
for
layup.
sure.
That's a McLaren of the night.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is. It's the mid-tier McLaren.
So if
Britain,
I meet people, I meet people. They're like, I've got a Land Rover, or let's say, and then I go, any issues? Like, no, it's fine. I go, how about the coolant leaks? Oh yeah, it's had the coolant leaks. How about the screen glitching and the backup camera not? Yeah, I had that couple times. How about the electrical? Yeah, I had a few of them. I'm like, your car's not fine, bro.
Yeah.
You have a lemon.
How many
Your
days
car's
in the
not
dealer
fine.
has your car been there? So what's the actual because California at least has pretty straight cut definitions on what how a car could be limited, right?
Yes.
I've heard 30 days in a year time span spent at a
Okay.
dealer, you can limit it. Is that how it works?
Almost that. So the way the law works is this, and a lot of people use these factors incorrectly, and you hear a lot of things out there. So the parameters are guidelines, okay? But the general lemon law concept, it's about the following. When a vehicle has defects which interfere with its use and/or safety. So any defect. So and then the lemon law goes on to say, well, to determine. And then it says if the manufacturer has made multiple repair attempts and is unable to repair it in a reasonable amount of time, the consumer should get a refund, and there's a formula for how you calculate the refund. So this sentence is pretty packed actually, because use or safety. So you have to look at what are the issues, how many days at the dealership, what kind of issues, did it interfere with the user safety, and then how did the consumer use this car between the visits. Did he put 20,000 miles in every 5-month increment that he had the car, or did he put 1,000 miles in those 5-month increments? Because if you have an issue, but then you're driving the hell out of that car, has it really interfered with the use of that car? Not so much. There's a big counter that they have. So the statute goes on to say, as a guideline, the following is the presumption to the California lemon law. It's presumed to be a lemon if the car has been at the dealer in total of 30 days combined. It does not have to be consecutive. So it could be 5 days, 10 days, 15, total 30 days. Or if it's had the same issue repeating 4 times, so these two, one or the other, while the car is less than 18 months old, so not 1 year, year and a half, and while the car has less than 18,000 miles on the odometer. Okay, so that's like a rough idea, or the rough approach is this. You buy a new car or lease a new car. During the first year and a half, with average use, it's not reasonable for it to have had repeat issues or random issues which required it to be at the shop for a month or longer.
Yeah.
Okay? If so, then the presumption shifts the burden on the manufacturer to prove that this car is not defective, and most of the time they cannot prove it, disprove the presumption. There could be occasions where, something where, let's say you did something inadvertently, you let the battery drain, that's why there was an issue, that's why you had to fix the car for 2 months in the shop, but it was all your fault. That's going to shift back the presumption on you, okay? And then the other thing is, this is a guideline, okay? I've lemoned cars that had over 80,000 miles on them because of the totality of circumstances over the 3 or 4 or 5 year term of the client's ownership, depending on what he experienced, how many repairs, what issues, how severe the issues, you can lemon the cars that are outside the presumption. And then there's a lower presumption through court rulings that say if the defect is a life-threatening defect, as a result of which somebody could die, the passenger or the driver or someone else, then we bring down the threshold from 4 to 2. Because we don't want to tell you, well, you've had 3 engine malfunction incidents on the freeway going at 100 miles per hour, but you need the 4th one, buddy. So good luck to you. Take this car, hit the road, and let's see if you get a 4th one before we decide we can give you a refund. It's not cool to do that, so the courts have said bring down the requirement to 2 attempts if it's life-threatening. This opens up the door for us to argue now because, well, what is a life-threatening incident? There are some that are clear-cut, but then there are a lot of issues that are in the gray area. So we will argue over that with the manufacturers. So that kind of brings the whole 4 times range down to 2. So it's like 2 to 4 times, depending on the issues, the circumstances, depending on how many miles you put on the car, what the defect is, who you are, how fast were you going? What were you doing when the incident happened? Was it in your parking lot? Was it on the freeway? Did you have kids with you? All these various factors affect it.
Yeah.
And we've seen everything across the board.
My car goes into limp mode on the 101.
So life-threatening incident, clear cut. Yeah, you have one solid repair right there. And then the question is it going to take them 30 days?
Lucky. I didn't come after him.
Yeah.
What's the most common thing you see within lemon law?
Electrical issues. These days, with a lot of electric cars and a lot of things being software components, you see a lot of different electrical issues. And one thing we notice is that sometimes the manufacturers try to pass it off as it's a software update. Well, previously it was all hardware. So something would break, it was clear to say, well, this broke 3 times, so it's defective. Now, when there's a software glitch 4 times, and they're saying, well, we just need to reset it. Well, that's like you took a hardware and you replaced it with software. Now it has a glitch. That doesn't mean it's not defective. That doesn't mean you don't get to lemon that car. That's still a defect, okay? So anything goes. The key is to just pay attention. And one of the ways we look at things is to see what is required as a function on cars. For example, in the recent years, all the new cars being sold have to have a backup camera. So if that malfunctions, since there is a law requiring it, that means the law pretty much set the standard that this is a necessary safety feature. Now, if my car's backup camera malfunctions 3-4 times, I've got a safety feature malfunctioning, so now I have a legitimate case. Versus if it's some feature that only one manufacturer has implemented on a car and it's just a test phase and you bought that car and it glitches. Well, it doesn't have to have that feature, right? It's not a big deal, so it's going to be a weaker case.
The backup camera, that's got to be a common. I'm sure there's a lot of people with malfunctioning backup cameras that don't realize they have a case.
A lot of it is people don't sit and think about these things, right? You get a car, you're busy with your life, you do what you do, and then something glitches, you kind of let it go. I mean, my own car, one of my cars just recently, the automatic braking thing kicked in unnecessarily. I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago. I haven't had time to take it in, to deal with it. So imagine I don't have the time to deal with it, and people who don't know that it could result in a refund, they're not even going to bother, right?
Yeah.
So little things like that. So a lot of what we do with our Instagram content, with my wife, we educate people. What is a defect, how it manifests, what you should look out for. And because a lot of things are safety issues and you don't realize it, but it's important. And you should pay attention because one thing could lead to an escalation of another malfunction, which could lead to an accident. So you want to be careful about it. And then if you happen to have enough of these issues where maybe you even took it in, but you didn't know you have these rights, right? You just keep taking it in, and you're a nice person, and they just treat you nicely. And
Eat some coffee at the waiting room. You're like, oh, these people are nice. My car's gonna be done soon. Don't worry.
So what about like design flaws? Like the I know the 991 we were just talking about the other day, the GT3, the 3.8 liter. Bunch of those engines were blowing up, so they added a 10-year warranty on the engine. Then you get a car like the Aventador, where time is showing that the transmission basically has a design flaw that over time it's going to fail and it's going to have to be replaced. And this is all but guaranteed for every Lamborghini Aventador that's 10 years old.
Okay.
So how does that come into play where it's like, okay, well, you guys have a design flaw, and the average price to repair this is $100,000, and you know it, and you raise the price of your transmission at that. You've doubled the price of your transmission
Which is
since
crazy.
these fixes have started. So what sort of, like, I guess,
Recourse?
recourse do you have for a situation like that?
So you have the lemon law on the individual level, and then you have class action rights. So a lot of times when we see the same defect appearing multiple times on different cars, that's like a red flag that there's a defect with the car. And there are two types of defects. One is a design defect. The other one is a production defect. Okay, so legally speaking, design defect is when they design something incorrectly. Like all the cars are that way. The guys making the cars are following the procedures correctly. It's just the design is incorrect. Okay, so those you have to prove that there's a design defect. You have to prove that it results in damages, and it's a dangerous condition that's resulting. Then you can have a class action where you could sue them and get everybody in the class the remedy they need, which is, let's say, a redesigned transmission. Okay, I've done cases against Honda, Audi, and I've been in other cases where mostly they involved engine design flaws, where like the engine oil would leak through the seals and it was incorrectly designed. So you find a solution that they need to implement, you sue them, and the way it works is actually pretty beautiful. Because of the litigation barrier, what I was talking about earlier, how if you have one case and you have a $20,000 loss, for example, or a $50,000 loss, it's still not sufficient for you to hire an attorney and pay the attorney $100,000 to do the case for you, unless you have a statute that kicks in and pays your attorney's fees, right? Now, the class action law has gone one step beyond this that says if you have a class of people who are similarly situated, where it's the same issue and it's uniform and we can quantify the issue and we can offer a class-wide remedy, then the law allows one consumer plaintiff to file a lawsuit on behalf of everybody else. My last one was against BMW. It was the cup holder spill case where the cup holder was designed on the X5 models and a couple other models where the cup holder was not sealed, and under the cup holder you had a wire going, which the airbag harness was going under the cup holder. So if you had water in your cup holder and it spilled, if you had condensation on your cup, like a very cold cup of iced coffee, whatever, or something, or you left the cup overnight and something leaked in, it would go through the cracks, it would get into the harness, it would short the wires, and then you'd have to pay $1,500 to $2,500 to fix your airbag harness. And initially it was on the consumer, so people would pay out of pocket or they would do an insurance claim. We proved, we didn't prove it because we sued and the allegation and then the case was settled. But from my perspective, I think I proved it since I got a settlement, but
settled.
officially we did not prove it, right, legally. Most things, when we settle, it's just funny. Even if it's 100%, no one ever admits anything.
Right.
That's why they settle.
Yeah, but that's why they settle. Yeah.
So you can't go out there going, we proved.
Yeah. So nobody proved anything
for that point.
But
here's the money. Just let's keep this between us. Here's your money.
The beauty of the resolution is, so one person sues, we establish the issue, and at some point when you have the facts lined up, they come around saying, well, we'll offer a remedy to everybody. So everybody gets that component fixed. In this case, like everybody got their cup holder sealed if they want to. And then anybody, or I think the solution was if you got the short, you get it fixed. So it wasn't like everybody gets the cup holder fixed because they figured it doesn't happen all the time. So it's just something that they're willing to do if it happens. So that's the beauty. Same thing with the transmission issue. If there was a class action, if it's legitimate, the ultimate result would be one guy sues or gal, you prove the issue to some extent, they come around saying, okay, we'll take care of it. We're going to set like an amount of money or a repair for X period of time where anybody who has this issue will get a free transmission replacement, and that's it. You know, so the problem is solved thanks to one lawsuit on behalf of the 10,000, or some of my cases it was like 300, 400,000 car owners. So
What?
Yeah. So we do one case and we get 400,000.
This all makes more sense.
Yes.
So when you pull like 20 million on the Aventador class action lawsuit, you gotta kick me back a little something for
I'm
tipping
curious.
you off that stuff is going on there.
Do you think there's a legitimate class action to be there, have there?
So I'll definitely look into this since we're talking about it. So it really depends on what the issue is, which year models, how it was designed,
All year models,
what was
everything.
going on. Well, I'll look into it. I'm the guy to look into this. Yes.
He's gonna put that like thing.
Your car's new enough to not be worried about it yet. But
Okay, yeah.
I think it's a design flaw with the. We're getting an explanation earlier, but I'm going to forget everything. But it's the way that they design the casing of the two metals. That
Okay.
it seeps, the hydraulic fluid seeps into where the
Okay.
actual transmission fluid is, and over time it just I don't know, not corroding is the right word. There's a word for it. I'm forgetting the word.
Okay.
It's going to kill me. But
yeah,
that's,
it's mixing into the main case.
Okay.
and then over
and-
time it just eventually to the point where it's overfilled and it cooks the transmission. But it's
I'll look into it. Maybe next time we'll have more cars behind us.
yeah, I would love it. Yeah, I want one of those.
And I'll pull up in a different car too with my 10% kickback on that one.
10 and 10, baby. 10 and 10.
So, but you know, one thing I love talking about class actions is the fee portion, because there's a lot of misconceptions. So you hear these things where, oh, I got my $100 and then the attorney made $1 million or whatever he made. So the way the law works is the following: because it's allowing one person to sue on behalf of the entire class, and it says if there's a class and if it's all justified and it all works out and you get either a trial judgment or a settlement, then the attorney should be paid for the work he or she did. Okay, the end result is the following: you end up, as an attorney, you end up doing 1,000 or 2,000 hours of work over a period of 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 years. Okay, so that's like, if imagine you worked for free for the next 5 years, every other month you're working for free. So you're racking up all these salaries that you're not getting paid, and then 5 years later you win this case, and then the court says congrats, like, or you settle it. Everybody's getting their piece, and the aggregate piece is, let's say, $10,000, and there's 1,000 people, so that's $10 million that people are getting paid out through repairs and refunds and so forth. Then the statutes say it's justified because of the good you did to the class, that you get paid for your fees as long as those fees are not disproportionate to the benefit conferred upon the class. Meaning, if it was a $10 million benefit, like my Honda case, it was nearly a $70 million payout to the class in terms of repairs. The rules say if my billings, the work I did, is less than 25-30% of that, then it's fair. But the court also looks at the billings. In that particular case, the billings were less than $1 million. Okay, so they look at it, they're like, okay, you spent 3 years, for example, doing this much work, and you put in $400,000 of work, and you did not get paid. And then you got all these people, their $5,000 repairs. It's justifiable that now you should get paid your 400 grand. So it's not disproportionate when you look at it on the grand scheme, because you helped thousands of people in this range of 20 or $50 million to be made whole. And now you, as the attorney who worked for free for 5 years, is getting 300 grand. Okay, so when you chop it up like that, it's fair. But then most consumers look at it on the individual level. They're like, well, I got a 2 grand repair and you got $400,000. I'm like, yeah, and I did work for 5 years.
Right.
You know, I've actually.
And you're one of, 20,000 people. So
Yeah. I've had clients who argue with me in the beginning. I go, look, we can work something out where if you want to, how about you come on payroll, but I don't pay you, and the 5,000 hours of work that I'm going to do in the next 5 years, you do 500 hours of it and I don't pay you. I'll just let you know when there's work to do. You come in and you work for free. And then when we settle, I'll owe you payroll. They flip. They're like, what do you mean 5 years of no pay for like 10? I go, yeah, that's because that's really the setup, right?
The average person can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
It's just beyond me. But again, it's ignorance to a certain degree.
But it's a great thing for the consumer, because no other country does this from what I know. I mean, where you could have a small loss. If you're part of a class, you have a remedy where you're made whole thanks to the fact that the law will force the other side to pay everybody and then to pay your attorney for the work that was done. It's a terrific tool to help consumers get their remedy, and it keeps the other side fair. Before I became an attorney and I did all these consumer cases, I would hear these comments how all these lawyers are suing and it's a negative on the whole industry, on the world and this and that. Yes, there's a lot of bad litigation ongoing. The type of litigation I do, it keeps the other side primarily in check so that they don't commit these violations. Because you stop suing the manufacturers for making defective cars, well, they're just going to keep lowering the standards and people are going to keep dying. And that's it, because who cares? If there's no consequence to making defective cars, no one's going to bother. It's just going to go down the drain. Now, do we have a range of people now where they get a refund and it's kind of like just an upside in terms of like the defect was not that horrific, but he got a refund? Yes, but that's kind of the outcome of having a law where everybody has to be treated. In order for you to make that horrific incident paid in full, like that consumer made it whole, you have to have a law that spans across the board. Everybody has to have the same law. So you're going to have these horrific incidents which are, you want to absolutely pay these people. Then you have the middle of the road where it's still fair and justifiable. And then you have a few people who are filing claims where it wasn't so bad, but they get the upside. But the benefit to society overall is so tremendous that it's definitely worth having those laws versus not having those laws.
Yeah.
You ship one of these cars to another country and the guy's stuck with it. Here, it would have been a full refund, and there he's screwed. He's out 100 grand, and he's got garbage to just throw away. That's it. No
Checks
laws,
and
no
balances.
protection.
You want to hear a funny story from today? Sorry, this happened today. It just is what it is. I won't use any names, but someone called me. So people call us now when they need car stuff, and they go, "Hey, I've got this guy. He's like trying to invest in whatever this thing that I have, and he's like." He wants in on this investment, but he's kind of like liquidity poor right now because he just bought this property in Dubai, but he has this collection of cars, kind of like a big collection, Rolls Royces, Ferraris, all that stuff, and he's looking for someone to give him basically a line of credit use the cars as collateral, his collection as collateral on some money so he can get some liquidity for this investment. And I was like, okay. I was like, maybe I might know someone I can call for that. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's probably important to mention he's in South Africa. And I go, okay. Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is South Africa is like the hub for stolen exotics over here in North America. So most of the cars, most Rolls Royces that disappear off the streets end up shipped to South Africa. So not saying that that's this guy, but someone who just bought a big house in Dubai and has a huge collection of cars needs like a $600,000 line of credit because he doesn't have the liquidity for it and he wants to collateralize the cars and he's in South Africa. Things aren't really adding up too much. And that story's kind of random, but it's whatever we were just talking about just reminded me of that. So am I off? Is that kind of funny?
No, that's hilarious.
I do want to talk about. So we got a GT3 RS, we got an SF90.
We haven't even touched.
No, we've just been talking about USC Law School this whole time.
Yes.
So which one did you get first?
The Lamborghini Aventador Ultimae.
Was this your first like supercar?
Yes. No, it's my first supercar.
Awesome.
My dream car, Lambo.
COVID treated you super well. And we got the Ultimae.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The hell of a first supercar too.
The spec is insane too.
Yeah.
Why this one specifically?
So dream car Lamborghini Aventador ever since I can remember. When I was researching the SVJ, the Ultimae, I just love the subtleness of this model and the interior trim and everything and the color combination. I was looking for a yellow car because I do lemon law. I was considering yellow, but then I saw this one and the trim was just perfect because it's kind of stealth grayish looking, and then it has all the yellow trim inside, outside, and it's the last model. So it's the last V12 Aventador. After this, they stopped production, and then the following year, the Rivolto came out. So this was, when I found out that's happening, I told my wife, like, my life is over. I'm going to stop working, and I'm just going to become a bum because there's no point. They stopped production. And then shortly after that, I found this one, and things kind of lined up where I could afford to get the car. So I'm like, I'm back. Okay?
Right.
I'm getting the car.
Sell some cases.
We're good, yeah. So it was in 2023. It was actually the day my daughter was born that I signed for this car. And it's like a dream car. I got it from Lamborghini of Newport Beach. You know, just the doors coming up. My son is 5 now, so he was like 3.5, 4 back then. So he loves it too. We go out, and it's just like an all-time favorite car for me. That's why I picked this one.
You ever drop him off to school in this?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's probably a very fulfilling experience.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. We grew up, I mean, I grew up with the toy versions of these cars, and now he gets to drive in these, which is the most fulfilling part of doing this whole thing. So we don't put him on social media, my wife and I, but sometimes I do a clip where you could see like his leg in the car, and I'll post it like, this is the dream setup. It's like, I go, it's so simple, just the Sunday morning drive. But it's the fact that we're in this car.
100%.
And, but it's all kind of, I'm very family oriented, you know, my wife, my kids, and everything that we do, it's for them, for the long run. So, and I'm blessed to be able to get here and be able to enjoy it with them now.
So what'd you get next?
So next was the Porsche, because I would show up with this to different events, and then there were the Porsches, and I remember now. I went to track with the Aventador to Willow Springs, tracked it. Everybody said, you're nuts for bringing this car to a track. You're actually going to track it? I go, yeah. So I tracked it, and there were like 1 or 2 GT3 RSs and then Ferraris. And I could just feel how my car is so heavy. Like it just felt heavy, just looking at it, driving it, and so forth. So it just got into me that I need a track car, like a fast, light car. And so the Porsche was the option, like it was the car to get. And I was looking for, this was early last year, I was looking for, I mean, these were very rare. You couldn't find them. There's a few more nowadays that you can find. So I didn't even have a hope of finding this. I was looking for the Turbo S convertible. I figured I'll get that, and then eventually we'll see what happens. And then I see this one pop up, and it's spec'd exactly how it needs to be for me. Yellow trim, everything on there. I called. They go, some guy ordered it a year and a half ago. Now he's backing out. So it's available. Obviously, crazy price, crazy car.
Right.
You know, but I just had to pull the trigger. So I got that car, then tracked it, and my intuition was correct. That's a track car. Yes. That.
Then you got the SF90.
And then the SF90 Spider, that I got that like 2 months ago.
Nice.
It kind of lined up with Valentine's Day and all that. Since I work with my wife, so we're like, let's get the SF90 for you. So we got that one, and to me, it's like I wanted to complete my trinity: Lambo, Porsche, Ferrari. That's like my automotive trinity. I won't call it what's that?
Screw McLaren.
Yeah, I've tried to work on myself to get a McLaren. I just can't do it.
We just need a 765, and the whole garage is done for.
Yes. Yeah. So I also have the Shelby Cobra replica built that we just finished. It's at the shop being painted now. So that was a build that was fun. Last year we did it here actually. and we dropped the engine in with some of my friends. It was like a one-time,
You guys did
lifetime
everything here.
experience, huh?
You guys did everything here, including dropping the motor.
Yeah, we did everything here. I mean, it comes with the
Margarian
fully
garage.
kit, but we
Yeah.
did it here. Yeah.
We're
yeah.
garage, baby.
Yeah.
The place to be.
Legit.
What color are you painting it?
The blue, what's it called? There's a name
Yeah,
to the
that
blue, but
metallic
it's
blue?
the metallic blue, the classic
White
blue.
stripes, or-
Yes, white stripes, blue. Well, everything old school on that one.
Nice.
Encyclopedia, I told you.
Yes, yeah. And I have a 1929 Ford Model A that I got like
crazy,
3 years ago for my birthday, just for fun. It's yellow. I call it Henry the Lemon. You know, so
It's in the other office?
it's in the other building.
I
We
love
take
it.
it to the Americana. I get like
awesome.
celebrity status with that car.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Like the Lemon King is
Yeah.
here, baby.
So what do you drive the most?
So I rotate between these, and then I have two Jeeps. I have a Wrangler, Rubicon, and then I have the Gladiator, and then I have the Escalade IQ, the new one. So I rotate between different cars, and I'm like I love driving. So the feeling you get when you drive a car, that's even the ones that are hard to drive, like you get tired driving the Aventador, I enjoy that feeling. So if I get somewhere, I enjoy the fact that I got tired driving this car.
Yeah.
When people say you can't daily this, I've dailied this periodically because it's fun. I enjoy the experience. So yeah, I just try to rotate. And my other thing in terms of driving these cars is that we work hard. I'm lucky enough where it fits in with my area of business, so I can say, well, I need to have these cars because the guys come over and we do these things and we go to drive, so I have to have these cars. But the other factor is I don't want to be 95 and barely get in and get out of these cars.
100%. It's better to have them now. And these are all stock.
Yes.
It's not anything is modified at all.
Nothing's modified.
Is there a
at this
reason for
point.
that?
It's my lemon law attorney intuition yet because they're under full warranty. It's telling me you can't touch these cars.
Right.
Which basically, if you modify something, that component goes out of warranty, so you cannot ask them to repair it if it malfunctions. You can't have, you give up your rights.
Just the component.
Pretty much that component, yes.
Anything it's connected to? Like if
You give them grounds for that. They can argue, well, you
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
this and it caused this. So
I put
Yes.
I put a different exhaust on the car.
Yeah.
So
So-
my engine is pretty much not covered anymore.
They'll say so, but I'll argue it's just whatever we touched. So we get into those arguments that this is what was touched, yes, but then the malfunction is this component. So it's not the whole car. So we'll get
Yeah.
into that argument if we have a case like that.
Even so, say you put on different wheels, and then you have a suspension failure. Is someone gonna try to come out?
They could.
Are they gonna try to argue that?
Depends on the manufacturer, who they are, how
Sounds
it
like a
is,
McLaren
and
thing.
so forth.
It sounds like a BMW thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you put BBSs on it? No, we're not replacing that control arm. That's all you, baby.
Oh, you've been
your
wa-
accumulators is not your code.
You've been washing this car. Oh no, BMW is no longer responsible. Yeah.
We don't care if they're Brixtons or anything.
Yeah.
Because have you driven the Aventador with full exhaust system?
No, I haven't. I've heard it pass by and all that. Alex
You've
at
heard him pass
Gintani.
I know you've heard me pass
Yeah.
by because I live
Yeah.
not too far from here,
Yeah.
and my rips.
Yeah.
You have to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this thing is so fantastic in so many ways, and then when you do just that one thing, it takes the car that's already like the dream to a level that you didn't even
Yeah.
imagine that it's possible.
So it's like the track day where I took this and I felt I need that.
Right.
I've been at drives, maybe it was your car or other cars, and I've heard the exhaust, and I've had the same feeling like I need to do something at some point.
Because it's almost
but,
like it's funny too. Because I remember, so when I bought mine, they had converted it back to stock, so it had the stock exhaust, but they had built a custom exhaust for it, and I had heard it with that exhaust on.
Right.
So I was like, all right, first thing I do is I'm going to get it, I'm going to take it to the shop, it's getting that exhaust. I remember driving out of the dealership with that stock exhaust, and the first couple of shifts when I was getting it up, I was like, I was like, this is terrible, just because I'm so accustomed to that high pitched noise.
Yeah.
I can't even go back.
Yeah.
You have to let me
Yeah.
just take my car.
Dude, the GT3 RS is with the exhaust too.
It's crazy too.
It's
like
so
R1's,
crazy.
R1's
Yes,
exhaust
the video I
over
sent
this.
you, it's like you
Absolutely
see those things
disgusting.
ripping around with an exhaust on, and you go, that is a race car
Yeah.
in every sense.
What's the most common for like the lemon law side of things? Do you have something that's more common where you see somebody does a more common modification? and they fight you back on it?
Honestly, most of the cases we do not have modifications. The cars don't have modifications because we're dealing mostly with mainstream cars.
Normal people.
Regular home household cars, not these type of cars. So we come across that rarely. We see the modification issues a lot of times with the fraud cases where, say, you buy a car and you try to go register it and the DMV says it's not approved because it has some crazy Dynon upgrade on it or other stuff on it. Today we had a case where someone called, they bought it out of state, Dodge Ram with some upgrades out of state. They got it, they shipped it here, DMV saying you can't register it here. So emission standard violations because the car was modified here or out of state and then sold here without a disclosure. So those are the cases we deal with sometimes where we go back to the dealer and say, well, you couldn't sell this car to a consumer in California. Why did you do this? You have to take the car back.
Man, that's
otherwise,
tough.
we have to fix it to be compliant enough to register it at the DMV.
'Cause half the time they probably don't even know in some of these other states because they don't have to check. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously it does if they're selling to California. I guess if you have a California buyer, you go, whoa, wait, let me just let me just double check everything.
Like this, the guy today, he said he asked them, like, I'm going to register it here. They said it's fine, it's totally fine. But then when he got the car and popped the hood, there's a tag apparently inside that says it can't be registered in California. So it's that obvious. So it's the first time I heard that.
See, now, this is me trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Are the dealers just that negligent, or do they do it on purpose?
So occasionally they're just negligent, but I feel like most of the time they do it recklessly. So the legal standard for fraud, it says if you misrepresent something material that has, results in damages, and you do it either knowingly or with reckless disregard to the truth, it's the same in the eyes of the law. So that means if you knew this car was smashed and then put together, versus if you had no idea, you never looked at this thing, and then you just passed by, it looked weird, like the paint looked weird, but you didn't bother, and then I came in, you said, this is perfect, it's brand new. So you're so reckless. It's as good as if you knew, but you lied to me. So that's what it is. And then going back to what you mentioned earlier, a lot of them just do it because most of the time they don't get caught. And then more than half the time when they get caught, the people don't do anything. The consumer lets it go, or they trade it in and get another car. Sometimes they will sell a second car and make more money on that same guy because they ripped him off the first time. Now they get to sell a second car. So it's just really bad.
They'll take the first on trade and win on that one too. And
It's like a double sale. It's great
they
because
sold a second warranty on that car too, so they got a double win too.
Double nitrogen in the tires.
Can't lose.
Yes, nitrogen. And then you have a small percentage of people that get to a lawyer. And then you have the problem on the lawyer's end where most lawyers don't know these laws, right? You go to a regular lawyer, he says, well, I charge $500 an hour and I could send a letter, so I need you to pay me $3,000. You're like, what do you mean pay you $3,000?
You're telling me there's attorneys out there that don't know the laws?
So they don't know these particular consumer laws. So most attorneys don't deal with what I deal with. So I would say maybe 99% of the lawyers have never done a lemon law or a dealer fraud case. So they don't know what your rights are. They don't know that you can shift the attorney fees on the other side and so forth. So most of them are going to tell you, well, I can't help you either, or you have to pay me to do this and that, which I do on contingency for free, where he or she is going to charge you. Or they say, well, it's too small of an issue, it's not worth it. So basically, our field is so specialized that unless you go to the right lawyer, you're going to get turned down. And then you're going to say, well, forget it, there's no remedy here. So you have to actually know about it, be willing to find a lawyer, go to a lawyer, find the right lawyer, and then end up with the one that knows what to do with it to get your remedy. Because, just even retaining a lawyer, that's still not going to be enough to get the remedy, because there's a lot of lawyers out there that will just take it just to wing it because, oh yeah, I've heard about it, I can put together a demand and they'll pay, and then they do something, they get some kind of an offer and they go, okay, yeah, we got $5,000 on the table, I'll be nice to you, I won't charge you this much, I'll charge less, and let's wrap it up. Well, maybe that was a $50,000 case.
Right.
And you just, sold it down the drain.
They took the easy route.
Because they don't have the in-depth knowledge of what it takes to win those cases, and and the stamina to go that 6 months, 1 year, whatever it takes to litigate that case, and they don't have the infrastructure. Because imagine this, if you're on contingency, no one is paying me for a case that I pick up today. So I'm taking it with the understanding that I'm going to get paid sometime between the next 2 to 20 months. So I have to be able to sustain my livelihood, do the work for free during that time period, and then do it correctly enough to make sure that I do win and I get paid and I get my client paid so he or she is happy and signs off. And then as a result, I will also get paid for the work I did. There are a lot of hurdles to go through that. So unless you know all that, you're just not going to do it. You're going to either not take the case or you're going to take the shortcut and take whatever settlement comes in. Because unfortunately, think of it this way. If someone does 1 hour of work, they just wing it, and they make $1,000. They just made $1,000 an hour. It's great for them. You as a consumer, if you got $5,000 out of that case, it doesn't matter to them. They just made $1,000 an hour. Versus if I take that case and I do 100 hours of work and I charge at 500, or if I end up making it 300 an hour, the amount and the settlement is 100,000 for the consumer. It's a different structure. I'm getting paid less hourly than Bob, who's taking $1,000 and shortchanging his clients and sending them home with $5,000. He's making more per hour. I'm making less per hour, but I'm going on the volume because I did 100 hours on that case, or the volume of hours on that case. And my client is getting his $50,000, $100,000. So it's a win for my client, like hands down. It's good for me overall because I don't have just one. I have a bunch of those cases. So overall, I can afford to do these things.
You're maxing out all the cases possible
Yes.
too. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yes.
So you have to treat it in that same structuring. And on top of that, you're going the full length. Now you have so many clients that just want to refer every single human being to you.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a domino effect. Eventually you're the guy.
Profound, Joe.
Huh?
Profound.
Thank you.
It's a business at the end of the day.
It is. It is.
Well,
It's a business at the end of the day.
It is.
Every profession boils down to being a business, but you have to run it correctly. Like my whole thing is to do it openly, honestly, fairly. I just remembered something. So when we first moved here, we were thinking of professions with my brother, talking to my dad, and I go, doctor, attorney, engineer, whatever. My dad goes, well, attorneys pretty much, they lie and cheat, so that's not us, so you can't be an attorney, so maybe a doctor. So we were like, okay, doctor. That was the discussion we had, okay?
5 minutes, done, doctor.
Yeah.
You're 13, you're a doctor.
Yeah, just like most of the parents that have that discussion.
I'm going to be doing laparoscopic surgeries all day long here.
Well, mine was like, I was going to be a cardiothoracic pediatric surgeon. That was the path I was on. But then when I made the switch, I remembered that conversation, so it stopped me for a moment. I'm like, well, I'm going down the incorrect path, right? I'm going to be a lawyer, all the negativity, everything you hear from society. Then I kind of thought to myself that, well, it depends on who you are and how you're going to be as an attorney. Yes, as an attorney, you have the ability, you have the privilege to have access to people's cases, to deal with people's lives, and you affect them in so many ways. And you could deprive them of certain things if you were unethical. You could charge somebody $5,000 and say, you have the best case ever, just give me $5,000, I'll take care of it, and then lose their case. You could charge a guy, who has a felony and say, I'll get you off, just need to give me $10,000. You take the $10,000 and then you just plead him to 20 years in jail, right? Or you could be the guy that says, look, I'm not charging you anything. I'll do an assessment of your case. I'll be fair about it. I'll tell you if it's a good case or a bad case. I'll tell you the odds. I'll tell you the amount that I expect, the reasonable, the low end, and the high end. I'll be all honest with you, and I'll take it on contingency, pure contingency. If I win, they'll pay me, and these are my terms. If I lose, you don't pay me anything. If the case falls apart for certain reasons, let's say the car gets stolen and we don't have the evidence and things go to, down. Okay, we're still going to squeeze out $5,000 to settle that case. Maybe it was a huge case. Now we're down to $5,000. Okay, I got to charge. I'll charge a percentage and some fee costs that I'm out of pocket. It'll be a fair outcome based on those circumstances. So I told myself if I set the terms fairly And that's what I did 19 years ago, and that's what I do now. My conscience is clear. Yes, I go for the kill. I go for the maximum. I love getting my clients twice the amount, 3 times the amount with penalties and lemon law. My billings are extreme in terms of I do more work than any other attorneys, right? In the lemon law field, all the defense opposing side, everything that they argue against me in court on my fee end is, well, why did he do this, that? Well, I did all that work to win the case, not just to win the basic refund, but I was going for double, triple. I was going for the penalties. I did the expert inspection. That's why I have a shop. I have experts here every couple of days a week. I have all the software to pull all the codes. I diagnose the cars. I will guide my clients in terms of your car has this issue, that issue, that issue. Don't let the dealer cheat you and tell you it's not so. I will walk him through the process. I'll be honest from day one. I can get you possibly 100,000, most likely 50, or it could go down and it could be merely 2-3 grand. So I do everything all out. My conscience is clear. I'm aggressive. It's in both of our interests for me to get the top dollars, but from day one, I'll tell you everything, the whole range. And then at the end of it is, we get the best that we can, and I'm honest about it. I will refuse a case where we cannot agree on that range with the client. If I say it's from here to here, and a client says, well, no, I need it to be here, and we discuss why it's this range, and he still says I need it here, I tell him, look, I could possibly get you here, and I'm relatively confident, but I cannot guarantee it, and so I'm not going to take your case. And the state bar says very clearly, you're not allowed to guarantee, okay? You cannot mislead people, you cannot guarantee. I see this a lot from other attorneys, because a client may call and we go through this whole process and they say, well, somebody else guaranteed this. I go, well, just the fact that they're guaranteeing, it's not ethical, it's a violation, it's improper. And secondly, why don't we look at the evidence? Because I'm not making stuff from air. Let's look at your repair records. You have a car with 60,000 miles that's been at the dealership for 4 days with this issue, that issue. How is this a guaranteed case for someone to tell you they're guaranteeing it, right? Is there, I just made up a scenario. Obviously, it's an incomplete scenario, but there's usually more to a case. But I go through it and I go, look, this is the law. These are your facts. In law school, they teach us what's called the IRAC, the issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. What's the issue? Is my car a lemon? What is the rule? This many repairs, this many days down. These are the parameters. What are your facts? Assess the facts against the rule, okay? What makes sense? Is this car, based on these records, a lemon or not? Where do you fall in the spectrum? Are you with an unsafe car that should be triple the refund? And I'll explain that part because I've mentioned it a few times. So triple the amount, or are you just a buyback case? Or do you have something where you should be compensated, but it's not a lemon, right? And you should be able, as a consumer, to reach that conclusion on your own after we discuss this. And it shouldn't be me telling you. It should be you concluding that, yeah, my case is worth this much. And that's how I do it, so that at the end of that assessment in your head, you're like, this all makes sense. And this guy is honest enough where he explained everything to me. And I should hire him because he's honest about it. Not because he told me I'm guaranteeing you and promising you this and that, right? Mm-hmm. Something unrelated, but somewhat related, with criminal cases, and the criminal defense lawyers might hate me for saying this, but sometimes you get a situation where a guy says, for this felony, it'll be $1 million and I'll get you off. Where's the correlation between the $1 million and the work you're going to do and what you're going to accomplish, right? Can you explain to me? He didn't explain to me. He just said he'll get me off because he's really good at this. I don't get it. I don't understand it. If he says, I'm going to do $10,000 worth of work here, 20 here, 50 here, and then for my experience, since I'm busy, I'd like another $900,000 because I just can't afford it. That's fair to me. But to say it's going to cost $1 million to do something in an arbitrary fashion makes no sense. To say this car is a lemon, I'm going to get you the money without explaining things makes no sense. How are cases decided? case goes to court, we file, you ultimately are going to have a jury trial or a bench trial where the judge is going to decide. What are they going to look at? The facts, the law, and the assessment. Who is on the bench? The judge. He's a human being, or she. Who's in the jury? 12 normal people like you and I, average people.
I've been
right?
there.
Okay, great. So you look at things from a human perspective, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a person, he's not happy with his car, he's had these issues, these are the law, parameters of the law. You reach a conclusion. So it's not hard.
I was the foreman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How did it go?
They chose me.
How did it go?
Mistrial.
Okay.
Yeah. DUI case.
Okay.
One guy was like, I can't do it. I can't send someone. And we're all like, it's kind of obvious, dude. All the evidence is here. Now you want to say you can't do it? You were supposed to say that the other day.
Yeah.
So it was like, 11-1.
So that brings up another point, which is the human factor to every case from the jury's perspective or the judge's perspective, right? And it ties in with the another issue that comes up a lot of times where people have this notion that lemon law is like winning the lottery. Oh, my car's been in there 4 times, that's it. It's a lemon case, it's perfect. Could be, but let's assess the facts, the circumstances and everything, and then let's look at what we're dealing with. If you're dealing with a, $2 million car that you paid all cash, you're going to have a jury person who's just not going to like you, okay? You can have...
That's the Lambo problem, huh?
Yeah.
The Lambo class action problem?
You'd have that. I mean, on the class, you wouldn't have it in the sense where if you can prove that it's this component that's defective and so forth, you could make sure the judge makes those decisions, or you serve it to the jury in such an isolated way where it's just, did this part break? Yes, this, then you get them to conclude. But when the question is like a totality, do I get a free Lamborghini because it was there for 30 days and I won the lottery, I want a free Lamborghini? No. Because the jury and the judge are human beings and you're taking them away from their family, their work, their everything for like a week. And you're saying, come spend a week in court, you're going to get paid a few dollars, $5 for that whole week or something. And you're here because I want to have enjoyed my Lamborghini for the last 3 years. And now the value is dropped in $400,000, for example. I want my $400,000 back, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're telling them. It's going to be tough. Unless your engine blew 4 times, you were stranded on the freeway, then you can walk them through it. Yes, it's legitimate. But then, so there are factors. We assess all these factors. And, you got to know when to accelerate and when to hit the brakes. Otherwise,
walk the line, baby.
Yeah.
Listen to this. You ready for this?
Sure.
$100,000 fix.
All right.
$100,000
Yes.
fix. The part's $85,000,
All right.
just the part. Then they charge $10,000 to $15,000 to install it,
All right.
and that is very possibly because of a design
Okay.
flaw. What happens when you start having the issue? Your car just shuts down on the highway because it won't switch gears, limp mode. You're rolling down the highway, car shuts down. So now you've got the safety thing.
Yes.
So you've got a $100,000 issue, and you've got the safety multiplier.
Yes.
So each car,
Yeah. It's
it's a lot of math.
Sounds
a lot
like
of math,
He'll do his research.
We're on it.
If you need to talk to anyone, well, I mean,
I'm
they
very
make
much
money off of the install, so maybe they don't want to give you too much insight on it. But I know we don't want to tell you about it. We make money when we fix it, but what a problem.
I wanted to talk about like the basics of lemon law because we talked about it, but I don't think we hit up like what do you get in a lemon law case, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I talk about complex things and then I forget to mention just the bare basics, okay? So we covered the parameters of what it takes to be a lemon and that it's a wide range and we do the full assessments and I tell the clients like if they have a case or not. But then what do you get if your car is a lemon? So under the statute, it's pretty straightforward. You get your down payment, your monthly payments, any like towing, incidental costs like rental costs, anything like that. So those are the amounts you're supposed to get back. Then there's a deduction parameter that says the manufacturer gets to deduct for miles used until the moment the car became defective. So if you drove X miles and then it started having issues, and if it's pretty clear that it happened at the, let's say, 12,000 mile mark, and then it started having issues every couple months, and ever since it's been bad, and so this car is a lemon, then the law pretty much says the lifetime expectancy of a vehicle is 120,000 miles. Therefore, we look at what percentage of that did you use and enjoy without any issues. So every 12,000 miles is 10%. So if it's a $50,000 car, 12,000 miles driven without issues, then it starts having defects. So you used up 10% of the pie until it became defective. So you take 10% of the price you agreed for the car. So $50,000 car, 10%, $5,000 off. So your down payment, let's say it was 10 grand down, and monthly payments are 800, whatever the total is. Say you've paid 25 grand into this car. It's the 25 minus the 5 grand for use. You get your $20,000 refund. And then you have another loan payoff, which is, let's say, 25 grand at that point, or 30, depending on the interest. If it's a purchase or a lease, same calculation.
So you get your interest back.
Yes.
Nice.
Your tax and your interest is
Yeah.
included, because you're getting your monthly payments back, which
Yeah.
includes all those things. Okay, so all that math you add up, subtract the offset. That's your refund. The only other thing that they also get to charge is for optional equipment or services which are not offered by the manufacturer. So when you're buying the car, let's say you bought extended warranty from ABC, extended coverage. Okay, you don't get that back. So they're going to take that 2 grand and deduct it from your refund, from the calculation. But then you could call that company and say, hey, I got this coverage when I got my car. It still hasn't kicked in, so give me a full refund. They'll probably prorate it and hold $200 and refund everything else. Or let's say it was a service contract that already started and you're halfway through it, they'll give you a refund of half of that money. So that's kind of a side refund you're going to get. Okay, so that's the basic lemon law refund. And in addition to that, the manufacturer has to pay the attorney's fees, which is what makes this possible for you to retain an attorney, to fight for you, and so forth. Then there is the civil penalties clause, which says if the manufacturer willfully failed to repair a car and failed to offer a remedy to you, even when you contacted the manufacturer through your attorney or on your own, and they refused to offer a remedy within 30 days, and then you sued them, and they continued to refuse, and let's say I litigate for 5 months, and then eventually they come around saying, yeah, you're right, here's the buyback. We get a shot at civil penalties, which say you can recover up to 2 times the amount of the contract number on the contract, which is actually a larger number than your refund amount. Because you got a $50,000 car you contracted for. So the contract amount is 50 grand plus tax and fees and stuff. You have a $60,000 total paid or payable sum on your contract. So you have a shot at 60,000 times 2, plus your refund, plus the loan payoff, plus the attorney's fees. And that's really where the extra amounts come in when your attorney does it correctly. This ties into how the case is done. So if you start a case and let's say you contact the manufacturer on your own and you argue with them, you fight them, or you beg them to buy it back, and they say, we'll let you know. You just chase them for 3 months, 4 months, then they come back and say, okay, you're right, here's your refund. 0 civil penalties, even if you begged them for 6 months and they were acting like jerks and then eventually owed up to it, right? 0 civil penalties. We see this sometimes where the consumer's done that for 3-4 months, then they come and hire us, and then a week later they get the buyback offer. Well, it's too soon. I just got the file 2 days, 3 days ago, and we got an offer. I cannot go back and say this was unreasonable because it's no longer worth the effort and the risk of litigation, so we're going to end up just taking the refund. Okay? So you're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot by being the nice guy who goes directly to the manufacturer. A lot of people say, well, someone told me just call corporate, they'll take care of it. Yeah, they'll take care of it, because if you have a horrific case, if they don't take care of it correctly when I handle it, it's going to cost them 3 times the amount. And if they spot it timely and you call them, they're just going to give you either a refund, or a lot of times they'll just throw 5 grand at you and argue and try to convince you it's not worth much. And every month I get somebody who calls and says, well, a few months ago I had an issue. Called corporate, we worked it out, I signed this release, it was like for $1,500, and I thought it was okay for then, but then now my car is breaking down again. I had another issue last week. I want to see if I can lemon it. Well, let me see what you signed for the $1,500 release. All past, present, future issues related to this vehicle, blah, blah, blah. Congratulations. How much was the refund going to be? We'll do the math. Oh, this was a $45,000 case. And if they acted in bad faith and we got penalties, we could have gotten you $100,000. You have $1,500. Good luck to you. That's all you get. Okay?
A handshake and a pat on the back.
Same thing if you went to an attorney who doesn't litigate aggressively, because when they don't have the funds to sustain the litigation to survive, they get that $5,000 cash offer. They need to pay the rent that month. Okay, I got nothing against that situation. I get it. I've been there when I was new, 19 years ago. I still wouldn't do that, but financially I understand it, right? Well, but the consumer is getting ripped off in a sense, because that consumer is being convinced to take the $5,000 because his attorney wants his cut from that to pay the rent, or even if it's not that dire situation-wise, the attorney is just a solo person who has no resources, no funds to hire experts, and he can't litigate, he can't go the distance. So they spend 3-4 months convincing the manufacturer to buy back the car. Okay, so it's a situation where I would have turned that into a penalties case, and the client would have been getting $50,000 extra, but this person drags it out, begs for a refund, and then at the end of it, the consumer gets their $40,000 refund, and this attorney gets their $2,500 for doing a pre-litigation case. They don't even file the lawsuit. Half of them never file lawsuits. The other 30-40%, they file and then they just beg for a settlement. They don't do anything because they just don't have the resources and the different factors, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference between who you're getting, what you're getting as a result of it, in terms of the outcome from your lemon law. Then that's the range. So, I can do it on my own? Sure. You can do it, you just capped yourself, no penalties, right? There's no way you're getting penalties. I can hire anybody else, anyone who does this. Sure, you could do that. You're not going to get penalties, and you're going to possibly get a partial settlement, okay?
Yeah. Like with law, it's always specialization.
Yeah.
Get someone who specializes in the area.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. So 16, 17 years before you bought the Lambo.
Yes.
So you see the collection of cars, you've done well, but it took 2023, I was just doing the math, 16, 17 years before you actually
Yes.
were able to
Immigrant
cash
as
in
well,
at that
too.
level.
What's that?
Immigrant as well, too.
Yes. Yeah.
That adds to the story. That's my favorite part.
Generally, I would say in terms of businesses, any business and in law practice, it takes about 5-6 years to become established. And then the question is, what do you do afterwards, right? If you're taking certain risks in certain ways, I was very big into startups. So I invested a lot in startups after I started my practice, like I got a little established. So I invested/wasted a lot of money in startups, hoping like, things are going to go well, and I'm going to have a big return, this and that. So the lesson learned from that is something that I try to stick to right now is do what you're best at. Don't diversify unless you're done with your main operation, right?
Right.
Because there is no startup that's going to give you a better return than whatever you are doing. You are your own startup, so focus on yourself.
We got an M car out there, huh?
We have someone out there.
Yeah, what is it? Is that an M4?
I don't know. I can't tell. I was listening to it. I was like, what is that?
I want to say it. The way it was revving up, it sounded like an M car. So what car do you want next? Is there anything else, or do you feel like you've got?
No, I mean right now, it's
If you could just add anything to this collection, what would you add?
honestly right now, like the SP3 is something that I would love to have. I've been bugging my sales guys and the GM saying, when are we switching this with an SP3? They're like, allocations are done, it's out, it's gone. I go, yeah, but there's still hope, right? Someone may cancel, which is crazy. No one's going to cancel that on that car. But that's a car. And then, Pagani or a Bugatti. The guys have been mentioning those because after I got this one, they're like, okay, you got your Trinity next, you got to go into one of those. And it's interesting in life, as you build up, as you scale up, your own perception of things and your goals and ambitions also shift, and that's very important. Like for the first time now, I'm looking at those cars, saying, okay, yeah, those cars, like I'm interested in those cars. 2 years ago, I wasn't looking at those cars. Like this was it. It was like, I need to get this car. Can I get this car? It was a dream.
And then you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's awesome. Should we roll guest questions?
I think it'd be perfect time for guest questions.
So everyone on the show gets the same 3 questions at the
Okay.
end to cap us all off.
I should have watched this to know what you're going to ask me.
I love it.
It's all good. Just whatever comes to
All right.
mind, it all works.
All right.
You ready?
Sure.
First question. What's the most overrated car today? Overrated. And you're a lemon law attorney, so this
Yeah.
one should be like,
Yeah, this is
there's some
overrated.
there's some
Fun
weight
one.
to this here.
I would say Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Most overrated.
In terms of the technology is great, but as a car, there is no car there, right? It's worse than the Corolla from 25 years ago, the plastic and all that. So yeah, if you paid $100,000 for that, I feel like it's overrated because of that. The technology, I'm with you, but it's not there.
It's built in America, but it feels like Alibaba, huh?
Something like that, yeah.
They did a timing masterpiece. They like minimalism is like the new luxury, and they like combine that with their car design. So now their minimalist looks like it's a little more luxury, when in reality it's just shit. It's just shit. That's literally all it is. You want me to say shit louder again?
just all of it louder. All of it louder.
What's the most underrated car today?
Underrated.
This one always takes a little more thought.
All right, because it's more positively vibe.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I want to speak good about?
Yeah.
Drop it in the comment if you're listening. What's the most underrated
Underrated.
car? This one, I like every time I ask this, I think about it.
It changes for me every time we ask these questions. Like I think of something and then I go, and then I go the next time I go, oh no, this is a better answer, and it just changes for me. It constantly
I don't
shifts.
know about exact cars, but in terms of underrated, generally speaking, I don't like how most cars have so many versions, and out there most people don't know the different versions. So the nice versions are all underrated. So you have a high-end Porsche, and most of the people, unless they know what it is, they feel like, oh, that's just a Porsche. It's a turbo. It's the same. It's a 911. It's the same as the Carrera and as the GT and this and that. No, it's not the same. They're all different cars.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Lambo. Oh, this car is a Lambo. Oh, it's like $200,000. Yeah. Okay.
This is the Ultimae.
It's like an insult to everybody who went for the nice version because they knew the car, but then they get insulted everywhere they go because most people don't know the specs and stuff. So it's been a pet peeve of mine recently and also previously, where when I was selling cars, brokering cars in law school, people would be like, oh yeah, I got the same car. And then I see the car, it's stripped. It's the baseline that's 15,000 cheaper. And he thinks he got the same car and he saved $25 a month. I'm like, yeah, you did a great job.
Yeah. And you have the top of kind of everything. The Ultimae, the GT3 RS.
These
The
two, yeah,
SF90.
the SF90, it's kind of there.
Spider
I-
helps.
Yeah. I mean, I don't buy the cars for the opinions. I buy them because of whichever one I love the way it is, performance and looks and so forth. So to me, it's like if it didn't have the package that it has, it wouldn't be as fast and as good as fun to perform. So I don't care if I could have the title that I own a Porsche XYZ. That's not why I bought it. I bought it because I wanted to handle the best on the track. So if this is the best one on the track, then that's why I want it. It's not about anything else.
Yeah. All right, the final question is, you got to build a 3-car garage
All right.
with no budget.
With no budget.
No budget.
What do you do? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
what 3 cars would you pick?
You are building a
Oh,
3-car garage.
You're building a 3-car
You have
garage
no
for
budget.
yourself in
Oh,
your
you mean
life
the
today.
budget? There's no limit on the
There's
budget.
no limit.
Okay.
You can get any 3 cars in the world, no budget, but you can only get 3 for everything.
All right.
So right now you
Wife,
have more
kids, the
than you
whole
have
life.
you have more than 3 cars right now.
Yes.
So in a way you have to consolidate.
Yes.
But your budget is
But you
gone.
just gave me the ultimate, no budget.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, F40 Ferrari,
Okay.
P1 McLaren, and on the Lambo end, maybe a Sia or something. Just because I mean I love my car. I almost would even just stick with this because I love it so much. Like it was a dream car. I love it. So, but if you're giving me no budget, I gotta spend more.
You can get one of the you can get one of the rebody ones.
I gotta spend more.
Get the new Countach or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Those are
3 top picks. I can't argue with those.
good picks. I don't know what you're taking your kids in, but
Yeah, that's true. He's like, hey, the wife and kids.
his wife's car.
Well, so the plan is we're starting now to take 2 cars, and then they can they have the car seats. So I've been taking my son with the car seat to the Lambo to car shows and stuff.
That's awesome.
Oftentimes the car seat in the Porsche or the Lambo is the highlight of the visit. Like everybody takes
100%.
pictures of the car seat, not the cars. Like, oh, there's a car seat here.
They walk up with the door up. They see the car seat. They're like, oh, this is a good
Yeah.
one.
There was a guy in my old apartment with a Huracan. There was always a car seat in the front. But Huracan ain't an Ultimae, so
Hell no, it's not.
different strokes.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, this is great.
This has
Thanks
been-
you for visiting.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I feel like it's one of the most informational podcasts we've been able to do.
Okay.
So that is
Wonderful.
very meaningful to me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
All right. Thanks for
This has been awesome.
coming out.
Love the cars.
To the next Cars and Coffee and Steak.
Oh yeah, Cars and Carbs. So I started the rallies. I'm gonna plug it in. So Car Syzygy Rallies is the name of the rallies I'm doing. I've hosted rallies, I guess, for the last 25 years. I didn't call them rallies back then. I would just get 20, 15 guys together, friends. We'd go out on canyons. We've been doing that on and off now, and I'm going to do it more often. My angle is just to have fun. And I also host my steak nights here, and you guys are invited. The next one is tomorrow.
Thank you.
So we've got 40 RSVPs, which means like 40 steaks on the grill. I didn't
kind of
introduce
steaks?
my grill. Huh?
What kind of steaks?
Dry aged New York, New York or ribeyes, Whole Foods or custom. There's a couple shops locally where I get them. They're really good steaks.
Perfect. I'm excited.
Scotch and all the good stuff. And then going back to the rallies and the Cars and Coffee events, I host them. My events are all free. I just do it to have fun because I love being in the atmosphere.
I love it. I'm
That's
looking
awesome.
forward to the next one.
No better way to do it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
sounds good.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me here.
You want to plug your Instagram? Anybody where they can find you?
Yes, it's my name, Hovanes. So my Instagram account is Hovanes Margarian _ESQ on Instagram.
Yes, sir. Or Supercar Connection? That's a wrap.
We're out.